Marriage starts off all love and roses, but after you've been together a while, things can turn a little thorny. With any marriage, there's some bumps in the road, but how do you know when your marriage is headed for divorce? Brad Robinson from Family and Life Solutions is here to tell us the signs that a marriage might be headed for divorce. Thank you so much for coming in.
Yeah, no
and
problem.
so what are some of the signs that a couple might be headed for divorce?
The major signs, they're called the four horsemen of the apocalypse. That's because
That's
when
scary.
you see them, the end is near. And so the major signs to look for are criticism, defensiveness, contempt, and stonewalling.
Okay, so let's break down each of those and,
Sure.
and what the signs are.
Yeah. Criticism is a complaint about your partner, their personality. It's blaming them for something that they did. Usually it starts with you never, you always. Why didn't you do these dishes? That's a complaint.
Okay.
And then when somebody's experiences a complaint, they get defensive.
Yeah, because they feel attacked.
Yeah, exactly. And so it's typically, not picking on women, but typically how it goes is women, 70% of the time, are the ones that criticize. Men,
I saw that. Oh, that's
Yeah.
so crazy to me. 70% of the time, it's the women that
Yeah.
are that criticize.
Yeah.
So I guess that means the rest of 70% of the men probably
Yeah.
are the ones that are defensive.
Yeah, then the men get defensive, and instead of apologizing because they feel their ego's been attacked, they get defensive, and then they criticize back. And then
Okay.
you've got this, you got people fighting, and nothing
yeah.
ever gets solved.
Okay, and so then contempt would be the next
Yeah,
step.
yeah, and contempt is basically a complete unliking of your partner or your spouse. You've reached the point, now with criticism or defensiveness, that's normal in healthy marriages as well. But marriages that are ailing, it gets to the point where there's so much of that, so much negativity in the marriage, there's not any positivity, and then contempt shows up. And this is where marital researchers, and I see this in my practice, when there's contempt, 94% of the time, the couple is headed for divorce when that shows up.
Wow.
And there's universal body language for that. Eye rolling, kind of the left dimple being pulled in. That is, when you see that, you know the end is near.
And then there's stonewalling, which
Yes.
is the last.
Yeah, and then they all tie into each other. And then when somebody experiences contempt, typically the man again, he will stonewall, and that's where his heart gets around 95, 100 beats a minute. And at that point, he just begins to shut down physiologically. His 95 beats a minute, he's no longer hearing what she's saying.
So there's a physical
There's a
aspect
physical
to
reaction,
this.
yeah. And then the man just shuts down emotionally. And then at that point, when there's enough of that, people are leading two different emotional lives.
But does this mean that their marriage is just over? Should
No,
they just
not
quit
at
now?
all.
What do
Not
they
at all.
do?
One of the great things about the recent breakthroughs in marriage counseling is we know how to fix people now. Before it was just the therapist's own bias, his ideas, other people's ideas. Now we know, because of scientific research, what causes a marriage to fail, but also, more importantly, how to make it work and what you can do. So there's different things you can do with each different stage of an argument. Like with criticism, the best thing to do is you still have to, people still feel like they got to get stuff off their chest. So the best thing to do is to complain without blaming. Use a gentle startup.
Eyes.
Yeah, use I statements.
Yes.
Talk about what you want and need using an I statement instead of talking about how the other person has let you down. And it's much the recipient of that is
Doesn't
much
feel
more
attacked, yeah.
Exactly.
So for more information, we can go to your website, right?
Yes, you can go to familyandlifesolutions.com. On there, I've got assessments, material on how to improve your marriage, a blog on this information that we're talking about today, and also what you can do to improve your marriage along with other stuff for the whole family.
Brad Robinson, thank you so much. This is a lot of useful information for our viewers out there. So thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you very much.
One of the most attractive qualities in a person is self-confidence. But more often as women, we focus on our, less than perfect traits. Have you ever asked yourself, do I look fat in these jeans? Am I good enough to date him? With a little help from Family and Life Solutions, those questions are a thing of the past. Woohoo! Brad Robinson is CEO of Family and Life Solutions and is here to talk about building some self-confidence. Thank you so much for coming in to talk about this. I think we can all relate to a little bit of low self-esteem when it comes to this. So talk about kind of what is self-confidence?
Sure. Self-confidence is really liking yourself. And there's different aspects of that. There's self-concepts where some people might feel attractive, but they don't feel smart. And then those different areas all added up, combined together, total your self-confidence or self-esteem.
Okay.
And so you can be, I'm excellent at this one thing, but I'm horrible at this. I'm horrible at that. I'm good at this. All together, that equals your self-confidence.
Where does the lack of self-confidence come from?
Yeah, that's a good question. A lack of self-confidence generally comes from when we were children. Oftentimes our parents would tell us, you're too small, you can't do that, you'll get hurt. And so children are black and white thinkers. They're literal thinkers. And so when they hear that, they think, I'm not good enough, I can't do it, I can't do it. I'm just not smart enough. If I were a better person. Us as adults, we look at that and we think that's not logical, but as children, they hear that and they believe it, and then it shapes these core beliefs about themselves, and over time, that gets accepted into our subconscious minds, and so we have to change that as adults.
So how do you break that low self-esteem?
Yeah, there's several different ways to do it. One of the best ways is having goals. Somebody once said that happiness is pursuing a goal because you have something to organize your life around. Another way is to do the things that you fear. As Emerson said,
that's scary. That is a scary thing to do.
Yeah, Emerson said, do the things that you fear and the death of fear is certain. And so you'll grow in confidence as you do things. That can mean calling somebody you don't want to call, confronting somebody that you have to confront.
It wouldn't mean like swimming with sharks because you're afraid
not
of
at
sharks.
all.
Not like
Not
that.
at all.
Okay,
No.
good, because I would never do that.
Yeah. And one of the best ways is using affirmations. And if you're disciplined with this, you can change your mental outlook in 21 days. And so affirmations are good because you're telling your subconscious mind what to think. Subconscious mind is basically a blank slate, and it's energized around our most dominant thoughts. So what we spend our time thinking about during the day, that's what we're going to see more of in our life. We're going to notice more negativity if we think about negativity or bad things. We're going to see more of that.
So think positive and you'll be positive.
Yeah,
You'll feel positive.
Yeah, and everybody experiences the same things. Everybody experiences the same setbacks and tragedies, but if you have positive thoughts, if you face your fears, you're going to create more opportunity for yourself and you're going to advance further.
So you're saying in 21 days you could really bring up your self-confidence.
Yeah, really. It's that simple because if you focus on this, using affirmations, and the best ones to use are I like myself, because the more you like yourself, other people will like you, and that helps with your social confidence. And then that deals with the fear of rejection, and then saying I can do it helps with the fear of failure. And those are the two main fears that people develop over time, just growing up, and using those affirmations, and then acting on them, you'll see a dramatic change in as simple as 21 days. And it's a testament to how amazing the human mind is and how quickly it can work.
Brad, great information again. Thank you so much for all this. And for more information, we can reach Brad Robinson at familyandlifesolutions.com. Again, thank you so much for coming in.
Yeah, no problem.
Secret texting, fresher hairstyle, working a little bit later. Are these suspicions that your significant other could be cheating? Well, Brad Robinson of Family and Life Solutions is here to talk about some warning signs for cheating. And thank you so much for coming into our studio. It's great to see you again.
Thank you.
Okay, so what are some of the classic signs that somebody might be cheating?
Yeah, that's a great question. Really, just a person's gut. What is your gut telling you? Many times, a spouse will ignore their gut. They're in denial about it. And so there's a lot of different signs, but you want to use all of those in consideration. Is my spouse cheating? Because sometimes they could be in depression or have a midlife crisis, and they're not necessarily cheating, and they could have some of these same warning signs.
So what are some of the specific warning signs?
Okay, yeah. There's an increased desire in sex, and it's kind of tricky because you see a lot of opposite behaviors. They will have a increased desire for sex, they'll become more passionate, or they'll want to try new things in the bedroom that they never wanted to do before, or they'll have a complete avoidance of sex. They're not interested in it at all. So that's one sign. Another is personal grooming habits. They'll hit the gym, they'll want to lose weight, they'll start becoming almost like they're dating again. They're grooming themselves for other people. And you might, as a married person, have tried to get that person interested in doing things like that for a long time, and they never did. But somebody new has entered the picture, and then they are starting to
take care of themselves.
Take care of themselves, yeah.
And then money, you said money is a big telltale sign
Yeah,
too.
money is, yeah, it really is, because you want to look for opposite behaviors, in some ways extreme behaviors, like obviously spending money on hotel rooms. That's a big giveaway. But people are smarter than that. What they'll do is take a lot of monies from the ATM or the bank, but they don't have a really good explanation. Sometimes explanations are really detailed or they're really vague. Mm-hmm. And listen to your gut. Does your gut tell you that they're being honest with you? And some people, so with money, they're spending money on gifts, large amounts of money taken out of the ATM. Are they spending more money at lunch, almost like for two people? And are they trying new restaurants in large amounts?
And then also you were talking a little bit earlier before this about they're really cheating on their children too.
Yeah, they're also cheating on their kids because the children suffer as well. Not only is mom or dad cheating on their spouse, they're also cheating on the kids because they're emotionally unavailable to the kids. They sometimes, and again, it's not one way or the other. Sometimes it's both, but they'll be really strict discipline-wise, or they'll be really lenient, but they often just don't give kids any attention anymore. And so kids suffer because of that.
That's awful.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Brad, for coming in and talking to us. And we can go to your website and find out all kinds of information.
FamilyAndLifeSolutions.com.
Got it. So you heard him. You can reach Brad Robinson at FamilyAndLifeSolutions.com. A lot of good information right there. An affair in marriage leaves the one cheated on with a feeling of confusion to why it even happened in the first place. Well, Brad Robinson of Family and Life Solutions is here to tell us why most affairs start. Thanks for coming in.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, and this is really important. I think people want to know, why did this happen to me?
Yeah, what usually happens, generally speaking, some people can cheat on their spouse and be in a great marriage. But the majority of marriages, what happens is the person that cheats doesn't know how to ask for what they need or want. They don't know how to, or they quit doing it, or they avoid bringing up their needs and wants because it's a source of conflict in the marriage. And so usually that marital conflict drives that person outside of the marriage where they bring up their needs and wants to somebody else, usually a friend or a coworker, and then an emotional attachment starts, and then out of that emotional attachment, that's what starts the affair.
So who is a stereotypical person having an affair?
That's an interesting question. Usually it's people with higher social status. Many times it's men 50 to 55, kind of the midlife crisis range.
I see.
Women who are just entering the workforce. Many times it's women in their early 40s, just entering the workforce. People with more access for traveling. Obviously you're lonely when you travel, that kind of thing. And they make more than $30,000 a year. And obviously, the more money you make, the more people are going to be attracted to you, and the more opportunities you have to. And
you were saying that even a happy marriage can be vulnerable. So how does that even happen if you're in a happy marriage?
Yeah, that's kind of, some people are confused by that. And one of probably really the biggest reason for that is the person's work environment they work in, or their friends or family believes that cheating is okay. And so it's, man, my wife is really hard on me, blah, blah, blah. Well, let's go out to the bar tonight and get some drinks. And then a couple things happen, and they don't frown on it. They don't try to stop you from doing it. And many of them also probably do it as well. And that's usually what happens in good relationships.
Okay, and there might be the thought that going to a marriage counselor like yourself would be kind of expensive. So what do you say to that?
No, I'm priced at a competitive rate. It's affordable. It's fair. Many of our customers have felt that, initially marriage counseling would be expensive, but they found that it's not. They get so much more value out of having a great marriage than they ever did before.
So it's really important to see you before, something were to actually happen. So
yeah, exactly.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Brad.
Yeah, thank you.
Great to see you. And you can reach Brad Robinson at FamilyAndLifeSolutions.com. You see the website right there. You can't believe it happened. Your spouse cheated on you. It's a feeling of betrayal. You don't know if you'll ever recover from it. Well, Brad Robinson is marriage counselor at Family and Life Solutions, and he is here to talk about healing after an affair.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is a loaded subject, right?
Yeah,
So where should we
yeah.
even start? So what should couples do after an affair is made known, I guess should be the
Yeah,
question.
after a spouse finds out their partner's cheated on them, the best thing to do, and this goes against what popular culture says or what most people believe you should do. Most people think sweep it under the rug, don't talk about it, it's over. But the person that's been cheated on, betrayed, many times they develop post-traumatic stress disorder. And so, you know, again, kind of another myth is that that's just for Iraq veterans, war veterans, but anybody that's gone through a serious trauma develops that, and the only thing that's going to bring healing for them is having the story of the affair, the details, the truth about what happened. And so you really got to be able to talk about that.
And telling that story, how do you actually tell that story?
Yeah, and that's where it gets a little bit more tricky because, and you can do it successfully, but the person who's been betrayed needs to be patient and almost empathetic because there is causes that cause them to cheat, but they need to really be gentle in doing it, almost like you're a reporter and you sit back in silence and you let the other person feel that silence, and they're going to tell you more that way. And so you really don't want to start accusing that person. And then the person telling what happened needs to talk about what led up to it so that way it doesn't happen again, or you can look at the warning signs again. And they also need to be patient because the person that's betrayed, it's going to take, at the earliest, if everybody does it, you know, does it textbook perfectly, it's going to take about 3 months. But normally it takes about a year or 2 years for healing. And so both people need to be patient because the wife or the husband, whoever was betrayed, is going to ask a lot of the same questions.
And I was going to ask you, as a marriage counselor,
Yeah.
what kind of progress do people really make from seeing you after an affair? You know?
Yeah, that's a good question. And that goes back to another misunderstanding about marriage counseling and adultery. And this is really good for people that have been caught in adultery and want to save their marriage, is they make the most gains out of anybody in marriage counseling over a 6-month period. And so there's a lot of hope there. And that's not even what causes most of the divorce. It's what causes most divorce is really people just growing apart, not being able to handle conflict.
Get along.
And they quit talking, and so then they divorce. But adultery, that's something that we know how to fix. There's a lot of research on that, and we've had great success being able to help people with that.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Brad Robinson. Great to have you in.
Yeah.
And you can reach Brad Robinson at Family and Life Solutions. That website is right there, familyandlifesolutions.com. Well, whether you're about to get married or just want to tackle a few issues with your spouse, attending a couples workshop or just counseling in general is a great way to learn about just being in a relationship and making it last forever. Brad Robinson is a marriage counselor at Family and Life Solutions and is here to talk about what couples can expect at one of your upcoming workshops, which I'm so excited to talk about. Thank you so much for coming in. So why do you suggest people should go to couples counseling in general?
Well, it's great because it's relationship maintenance. What we know about couples that divorce is they, when they do go to marriage counseling, they'll go 6 years after the problem came up. And so the reason most of the time, most of the divorces isn't infidelity, it's not big events, it's erosion. Couples just slowly grow apart over time. And so you really have to have maintenance. You have to tweak things over time. And so if you make small changes, you know, over time, you keep doing those behaviors, it'll lead to bigger changes.
Perfect. And then what about somebody that's, you know, not even married yet, the whole premarital counseling?
Yeah, and see, that's a great question. Couples are in that lovey-dovey state, so they're not really thinking, oh, you know, we're ever going to have problems or we're going to be invincible. That's great, but the problem is that doesn't match reality. And so couples that have great relationships, they make an investment in themselves. They look at marriage counseling, reading a book, going to a workshop as an investment in themselves, like somebody would if they were going to go to a gym and lose weight. They really make that investment, and it pays off. You get great results when you do that.
And then you're doing a workshop this Saturday.
Yeah, this Saturday.
What will people learn?
Yeah, great. It's going to be at the Mayo Hotel from 9 to 4. Couples are going to learn how to really communicate with each other, really understand each other, how to have a great, really increase their friendship with each other. They're going to learn 6 things that they need to know for managing conflict because Couples do fight, they do argue, but it has to be fighting fair. It has to be increasing that friendship, and you have to put on the brakes, and you have to know how to do that. And so we're going to talk about friendship, we're going to talk about conflict, and then we're going to talk about sex and things that you have to have a great sex life. 5 things that you have to have and what men overlook. We're going to talk about, for new parents in the audience, we're going to talk about how having a baby changes a marriage. And so 2/3 of couples that have a baby, they're just miserable after it happens. They're just miserable. And so what we can do to really rebound after that period, and what we can do to get over that hump in marriages. And then we're going to talk about depression in marriage. That's the silent killer. A lot of people think it's infidelity, which obviously leads to divorce, but depression is a silent killer. It just, it slowly creeps in and it sucks the life out of a marriage. And then we're going to talk about infidelity at the end. And the idea at this workshop is really going to give couples, instead of me lecturing the whole time, a good portion of it, 70% of it's going to be couples actually working on the marriage. And they're going to have enough privacy where they're going to be able to do so without fear that other people are going to be able to overhear them. And, you know, other people are going to be nosy and overhear and that sort of thing. And so it's a great price. It's $125, which is $25 for an hour-long session. This is an all-day event from 9 to 4, and it's 1/15 of the price if they were paying for it over a 4-month period. So it's a great value. I'm often surprised by couples that come just by the radical changes that have happened. We've had couples come who are separated, a couple that was already divorced and wanted to reconcile. And so it's, and people get better. It's just having that information. It's knowing how to do it. And
Perfect.
so if they wanna
Awareness.
come-
So
yeah,
a lot of awareness right there. So thank
Yeah.
you so
Yeah,
much,
thank you,
Brad,
Lacey.
for coming in. It's great
Yeah.
to have you in.